Hey there, Kenneth French of Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're very, very happy you stopped by. Either you're going to watch this or listen to this because you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably an entrepreneur who's either just starting out or you've been around for quite a while and you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably a real estate investor, maybe even a real estate agent, maybe a professional or of some sort, professional advisor of some sort. And well, you are stopping by because you need some valuable advice from one of the top industry leaders there is. Anyway, thank you very much. Once again, Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Really glad you stopped by. If you're a solopreneur and need a community, you are talking and hearing the right group right now. Joe, Rondo, whatever your name is, I'm excited to have you here.
How's it going?
Man, this is going to be perfect for anyone who's a solopreneur because obviously vastsolutionsgroup.com, we work with solopreneurs. You in your community, you work with solopreneurs to help better, make it so they can succeed and who knows, become the next Google. So this is going to be a fun 15 minutes. How's that sound?
Sounds good. But, I'm going to correct you on that. We're not making people into the next Google. We're actually looking for the people that don't want to become the next Google.
Well said. Thanks for correcting me.
Yeah, we're looking for people that want to build a business that serves their life, right? So, because my question is, if you want to be Google, why are you foregoing employees? For employees are the best way to scale. So if you're saying, I don't want employees, you're saying, I want something else besides scale. I want time with my kids. I want to be able to go windsurfing when the wind's blowing. I want, whatever it is, there's some reason that you're making this choice to be a solopreneur besides becoming a billionaire, at least for our people.
I know when I was a kid, I wanted to have a big company. I wanted to, probably work for a big company, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. I wanted to work for a big company, retire when I was 65, get a cool rocking chair, gold watch. But I think now things have changed. People now want to be solopreneurs. They want to be able to work when they want to work, make a couple of bucks and travel when they want to travel, et cetera, et cetera. Things have changed,
It blows my mind, especially with some of the younger people that are solopreneurs, and they're living any way they want, working the schedules that they want. So they're like, we had this one woman that she actually taught a course in our program on managing money. Her name's Brooke Tomasetti. She, every time I talk to her, she's in some other part of the world, working. But I'm in Thailand. Oh, now I'm in Vienna. It's just all over the place. We got another guy, same thing. He's like, he just goes everywhere. Works. He does website development, so he just works from anywhere he wants. And to me, my generation, that was unthinkable, right? We were, get to the office every day, and it's just really impresses the heck out of me.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts about someone who is a W-2 employee who works for, let's say, Microsoft, and they want to go out on their own? They want to be, touch their toe into the waters that are entrepreneurial.
Well, I think the first thing is because I saw this. I love this meme, but saw it again today. So it's a banner, and it says, "We do this not because it is easy, but because we thought it would be easy." And that is the God's honest truth of entrepreneurship and solopreneurship. It always sounds a lot easier than it's going to be. So step one in my book is figure out why you're doing it. What are your goals? What is it that you want to have be different? And make sure that it's really the right place for you, because it is not going to be easy. Once you've got that figured out, now you say, okay, how am I going to get there realistically? So, you get a nice gig at Microsoft and you don't have enough money in the bank to survive for a year, or you don't have a great, strong plan for generating revenues right out of the block that's actually going to work. Think about a side hustle, right? Start doing stuff on the side. Because if you go blow your brains out, it's not going to be a happy memory saying that, gee, I did this solopreneur thing. You want to make sure that you're going to have it together and, not lose what it is that you've built so far working for whatever company you're working for. So good plan, good goals, good plan, and maybe slow and steady.
Yeah, we're from the tax side mainly. As I think we've been doing taxes for years for mainly solopreneurs. And, even if someone works at Microsoft, why not start a side gig? Who knows? Maybe it'll be, end up into a huge enterprise. Meanwhile, you're saving tax dollars, and who knows? Success might get you out of Microsoft if you want to get out of Microsoft. So right. I think what you said is exactly right, though. But at the same time, I would say it's scary. Entrepreneurs, it's scary. They don't know what they're walking into. But I think if you prepare well in advance, it can lower the risk. Plus, there's so many cool tools out there. As I mentioned to you, we have a system called Einstein for us that helps, us to propel towards success. I think there's a lot of tools out there that makes it a little bit easier for entrepreneurs nowadays. And it sounds like you have some tools, you've worked on some tools that can help an entrepreneur themselves.
Yeah, we're building kind of a place for people to go, and it's got community. We've got all kinds of content, courses, a library of videos of different topics, and we've built out over the last few years. It's pretty extensive. We've got a trained AI trained exclusively on solopreneur content. So when you ask a question, it doesn't give you the ChatGPT subject matter version of the answer. It gives you the solopreneur version. So a lot of things like that we're doing to try to help solopreneurs. But going back to getting started, it really bothers me when I see these people out there trying to tell everybody that they should, become a solopreneur or start their own business. And to me, I think that, there are people that should do that need to do that are cut out for that. And there are some people that really shouldn't. And you really need to be careful to be sure that you've got the right kind of mindset for running your own business. And I mean, that could be a topic on its own. But I just want to say that one of the things that maybe, I don't know if it's different, but I bring to this thing is to say, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. Let's figure that out.
Yeah, it sounds like some of your tools you do have will help in that regard from the sounds of it,
Yes.
correct? And by the way, I like that you have AI, you've adopted AI. As I mentioned to you offline, we've been AI since 2018, and it's helped us a huge amount. I know it's helped so many entrepreneurs, and that's awesome that you have a model that's specifically suited towards, it sounds like solopreneurs, because a lot of them don't know anything about artificial intelligence. So actually, let me ask you a little bit about that. That's pretty cool. So give a little bit of information on that, on your model, on what it's like, I guess as a part of your community, et cetera, et cetera. And at the same time, give us a little bit of information about you, Joe Rando.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start with the AI. So the AI, we have a really large catalog of content. I've got, a book's worth of, we call it the Solopreneur Success Cycle, but it's a book's worth of stuff on how to start, run, and then improve a solo business. And we've got that. We've got tons of blogs. We've got podcasts. We've got videos that we've done with, different kinds of experts and things. And we've taken all the kind of knowledge there and fed it into an AI so that the AI is now looking at it from the perspective of, how would a solopreneur think about solving this problem instead of how would a subject matter expert or somebody that works for a big company think about solving this problem. So if you go in and you say, how do I do SEO for my business? If you go to ChatGPT, it's going to say, well, do this, find your keywords, blah, 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 blah. And our system will come back and say something more like, well, as a solopreneur, are you sure SEO is actually the right play for gaining traction? Because it's going to be very difficult in a lot of areas to compete against big companies. And maybe you're better off looking at some other approach to getting leads than SEO. And then maybe give you some information if you say, I really want to do it. Yep. But starting off from that perspective of, SEO is a tough game these days for anybody small.
It really is. But yeah, that model, it sounds like that'd be a good thing for a lot of our viewers and listeners out there. And then why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Joe? Because I know you've earned your credentials. There's no doubt about that.
Well, yeah, I got a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. So I started out as a physicist doing fiber optics back when we thought that was going to be the way that data got delivered to computers. And that's all changed. And thank goodness I got out of that. But from there, I had the logical progression of getting an MBA and starting developing shopping centers. I got into the kind of power center development with, Home Depot and all these big box stores coming into the Northeast. But I built some technology to figure out where to put them. And that eventually spun off into an enterprise software company called Trade Area Systems. I did that with a partner, a guy named Bill Dakey, and we grew that business through the aughts and teens and sold it in 2020 to a company called Calibrate out of the UK. And but the idea was, all the kind of information about your retail real estate is all in this one system, the desktop analytics, a web app, and a mobile app that, people could use to figure out where to put stores, making real estate decisions and that kind of thing. And, so that worked out well. And then I started this, and I've just been trying to work with solopreneurs and find a way to produce something that will help them. And I think I mentioned to you before we started recording, I ran an extensive survey of solopreneurs and found out that regardless of whether you're a coach, a consultant, contractor, freelancer, they all have the same set of challenges. I mean, the biggest challenge by far that every solopreneur, not every, but, almost all solopreneurs face is lead generation, right? Getting leads. It's hard. And so we're really working hard to help them with those kinds of things. Selling, unless they're a salesperson, coaching people on sales, the idea of selling is really challenging for a lot of solopreneurs. And then, operating efficiently and trying to deal with the fact that you're trying to do everything yourself, but you really shouldn't be doing everything yourself, right? You should be offloading. I mean, you guys help solopreneurs with taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're encouraging people, don't do it all yourself. You're solo. That means you don't have W-2 employees. Doesn't mean you're alone. Get some help. If you don't like to do bookkeeping, get a bookkeeper. If you don't know about taxes, get somebody that's a tax professional. And helping guide people to make those decisions that sometimes they feel like they shouldn't make. We've actually got a little system we've built, a little tool they can go in and put down a bunch of the things that they do to run their business and then rate themselves and rate some different things, and it'll recommend whether they should outsource it or not.
Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of good points in that little tidbit, because what we would say is, I think entrepreneurial there's so many challenges. And why are there so many challenges? Because you're a solopreneur, you're going it alone. I think that's partly the reason we're starting our community. We've started our community because that's the biggest challenge. If you're going it alone, well, you might fail as a result because you're going alone. But if you're in it, in a cauldron with a bunch of people that can help you, who knows, maybe you're going to end up succeeding because you have someone right next to you who's going through the same exact challenges. But I will totally agree with you that I think a lot of the issues are that, people need leads, people need new business. And, you might be a good, engineer, but you're not a good marketer. And I think that, that's a huge issue. And again, I really think the community, it's taken me years to figure out that if you have a community, there's going to be one guy or girl who's good at marketing. There's going to be one guy or girl who's good at bookkeeping. There's going to be one guy or girl who's good at something else. And then if you're in that community, everyone's together. It will grow based on the people who are in there helping one another. That's why we're starting the community, and I know it's going to work out. I mean, I've already felt that.
It's really cool to see when people come together from different experiences, and somebody that's maybe we got one guy, he does a lot of automation, right? So automating processes. Well, sure, if somebody else comes in, it's like maybe a graphic designer and struggling with something, and he's like, well, you can do this. But then you look at his website, and the graphic designer's like, yeah, no, you need some help here. And we've got so much, there's a lot of kind of, bartering going on. It says people helping each other, and it's just really cool to see. I love the fact that it's just, people coming together and I can only do so much. I'm one person. I've got Carly Reese that I, work with. She's the marketing expert. So she does a lot of the marketing stuff, but we're limited. But when these people start helping each other, it's just, the sky's the limit in terms of scale.
Yeah, I'm very glad I have you on the show, because it's important for people to know that they should be in a community. Because I mean, we have over 2,000 real estate agents, right? Just specifically real estate agents, and most of them some are in teams, by the way. But even if they're in a team, they might be the leader of the team, and they're not communicating with other team leaders, as an example. And so again, if they're in a community, they're going to be that much better. Or sometimes they are just real estate agents who, not to put down real estate agents, but they're in a brokerage, and that brokerage might not be very tight. So you're off on your own again, fighting the battles that are, entrepreneurial in nature. All right. So you brought up, so tell me a little bit about your community, and then, I'm going to throw out a couple of things about ours. So tell us a little bit more about your community.
So again, we're not focused on any particular industry or profession, if you will. So we've got all different kinds of people. We've got some real estate brokers, but only a few. But a lot of coaches, consultants, contractors, some true solopreneurs who are inventing things but don't want to have employees. And we've got a Facebook community. We're currently building out and shortly releasing a kind of a private community. So we call it Solo Suite Central, and it's basically got all the content and a community inside there that we're going to be transitioning to. It's going to be fun to see how that goes, because I don't know if you know, do you know Sam Parr?
Mm-mm.
Sam Parr started The Hustle. He started Trends. They were both acquired by HubSpot. And smart guy, but built a really successful community. And he basically says, if you're going to build a community, you got to build it in like Facebook or someplace where people go, maybe LinkedIn, but you got to build it someplace people are already going, because you'll never get engagement if you do it otherwise. And we started initially trying to do it on our own with a separate thing, and we didn't get engagement. So we transitioned to Facebook, and we have gotten engagement. But now we're saying, is it big enough that we can bring these people over, have more control, more, because it's with Facebook, you just don't even know if it's going to work that
Not
day.
at all. No.
It's a lot of frustration, have a lot more power to give people what they want. So anyway, so we're going to try that. So it'll be interesting to see if that works. But we've got, as I said, and I think I mentioned, we've got the free tier, which has access to all of our free content, searchable. So you can go in and you want information about whatever, you can search it. Then we've got the paid tiers, which go up to including office hours, accountability groups, access to the AI, some exclusive, events, because we do events, two free events every month. We only have exclusive paid events that we're going to be doing starting in January. So that's the really short version of it. But just all things solopreneur, a lot of great people. We've got some real experts. We're big fans of HubSpot. I don't know if you know HubSpot.
Yeah, I do.
But huge fans of HubSpot. So we've got George B. Thomas does office hours on how to use HubSpot for your business. We're an affiliate, so you can buy it through us, and we'll help you get it up and running. So just those kinds of things, just to help solopreneurs either start, run, or improve their business.
It's funny what you said about Facebook. So, and that's also the case for, Instagram. Wherever you start a community, you're going to have some uphill challenges, because sometimes they can just cut you off, right? So we decided we've built our own community on our own platform, again, Einstein, and that's the engine for everything for us. And you're right. I think it's very difficult to get random people into our community, but we've got, in our database, 12,000 people. In our law firm with whom we merged, we have 6,000 people. So we kind of have a captive audience. Right. And it's nice also because we're flexible, because we could do so many things with our platform and our community as a result. But I personally think maybe getting started, just like you're doing on Facebook as an example, make sure you get people's emails and then switch them over to your own community. And then you'll have, diversification, which is a huge deal. You know what I mean?
Well, you said it, get their emails. I mean, I belong to a group on Facebook called the, what the heck is it called?
The Forgotten About place.
Yeah. It's good. It's a goofy name, like the Good Ship Misfits or something, but that's Sam Parr I was talking about before. But basically you hear stories from people. Oh, I had 1 million followers on Instagram, and they basically suspended my account for something. I have no idea why, and I can't talk to anybody. It's like, you don't want to be there. But if you have all the email addresses, it's not the end of the world. You could start a new Instagram account and engage them. But if you didn't have that, you're done.
That's exactly
you're
right.
Done.
Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty smart by doing that. Diversification is a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely want to control your leads. As much as you can, and collecting those email addresses. That's one of the things we coach people on is a lead magnet, right? You want to have a lead magnet, give somebody something of value in return for their email address. And that way, it's at least somewhat in your control.
And also what we've done for new business, we rely really on, referrals, word of mouth. Although it's hard to scale that way, but that's been a big, we've been around since 69. I took over in 06. So it's been easy to, have that big database, because we're old, although I'm not old, right? I look like Tom Brady, really young. But, I don't think personally that people market to their own clientele. They'll walk over their own clientele for a new lead, which is more expensive. That new lead on Facebook, I don't even know what cost per click is right now, but it's expensive. When you have your own database, they know who you are. Just market to those people. You know what I mean? Even mainly for solopreneurs, really.
I think for anybody, that's the best advice in the world is, if you get a customer, keep the customer. It's expensive to get new customers. We had that with that company I mentioned, Trade Area Systems. we had an expected customer lifetime of 20 years.
Oh, serious? Jeez.
We kept the churn that low. And that was the reason we didn't have any venture capital, right? It was a bootstrap company. And that was the reason we were able to grow it into something significant, was because once we got that customer, that revenue came in. Every year. We got a check in advance for the next year. And whatever you're doing, if you're not spending energy on keeping your customers happy, I'm actually it's funny I mentioned that. I'm just reading this book right now.
This customer again, Joey Coleman. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just he said, like, all these companies, as soon as you close the sale, it's all done. It's like, now here's your thing, goodbye. And it's like, that's where you really want to engage.
That's exactly right. When they become a new client, that's when they most love you. That's when try to get the Google reviews, try to get them to new other services, give referrals, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. It's just, if we just go, oh, got your money. Thanks. Here you go. Whatever you're doing, it's just smart to keep your customers. If it's a recurring revenue business, obviously. If it's not a recurring revenue business, then you got to get new customers all the time.
But
that's
even
one of the other things.
But even still, that's a good time to market to those existing clients, because they might get you again, give you more referrals, give you Google reviews, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah. No, it makes one of the things I'm reading about in that book is this idea when you get a new customer, have a celebration of some kind. And I'm trying to figure out what that means. But when you get that happens, it's like, and he was using the example of Build-A-Bear Workshop of all things. But he said toy companies are really good at this. But they get the bear and they have this big celebration and a birth certificate or something. And it's like, it's true. If when something happens, if people make a big deal out of it, it feels like something special. And that's smart. It's smart. I don't really, my brain doesn't think that way naturally. I'm just, what's the next thing we got to do,
Yeah.
But it's smart. It's good psychology.
Yeah, we've trained our system, again, Einstein, our AI system, to do this client onboarding thing. So right when clients come on board, automatically, internally, it sends a message to us internally, but also it sends a message automatically to the client, and we are updating them all the time. Just in the analogy would be like, Domino's Pizza, like, you get an email now or a text now, they just put on the sauce, they just put on the cheese. It's like all the way along the line. The driver just left the store. I think people want that nowadays more than ever because it's so easy to do that. So it sets their expectation. Number one. Number two, I think if it also sets some ground rules for us as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, because it shows us what we should be doing and living by those what we call service marks. So we know exactly where we are all the way along the line. And if there's a breakdown, then we could let the client know there's a breakdown. But anyway,
right.
I'm preaching to the choir probably.
Yeah, no, I guess, I'm trying to join the choir. It's, like I said, it's one of those things where it's a way of thinking that I'm, coming to terms with, as opposed to, we did it, at my last company, but, we had people spending, mostly 5 and 6 figures a year. It's pretty easy to, jump up and down and pay a lot of personal attention when somebody's spending 5, 6 figures a year.
Yeah.
You're doing something small, it's a little harder, but if they can do it with a teddy bear, we can find a way to do that. And any solopreneur can find some way to celebrate a new sale with the customer and make them feel like this is important.
Yeah, you can automate things like you never could before. It's crazy. Like, yeah, you get it. The onboarding, I think onboarding is really, really important. I think we neglected that for a lot of years, and now we're adopting that much more so because we want to hit scale now that we're getting to be the company where we want to grow and grow and grow. Whereas I don't think we used to want to do that, believe it or not. We just used to want to take care of the client and not get other clients. But now we're more aggressively going after other clients. So the onboarding process, I think, means even more. Because again, if we're doing a good job of automating everything, we'll get, Google reviews, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go back to you then. So then I have a question. So when someone comes on board with your community, it's a free community right now, right? So what's that process like? What do they get? Do they, I'm just looking for the specifics. What do they get being a part of the community?
So what happens is when they sign up, there's a checkbox on the form, right? That's on the web form that says automatically invite me to your events. And if they check it, basically we manually invite them to all of our free events. So there's
all online, right?
They're all online. Yeah, they're all on Zoom basically. But we have, I think I mentioned 2 events a month. So they check that. They just goes right on their calendar. We send them an invite. They can decline it, or they can accept it, but they get invited. That's, I think, a powerful thing to do. But I haven't found a good tool to do it automatically. So it's actually done manually.
Oh,
right,
Joe, I can help you.
All right.
Got some
This is what
suggestions
happens.
for it.
This is what happens when you get together with other people and talk. But I found some that kind of did it, but nothing as good as a true invite. So I'll be curious to hear about that. But then, we invite them to the Facebook community where they can sign up. If they use Facebook. Unfortunately, some people don't like Facebook and can't join. That's another thing we're going to address. They get some free content that we have. We have an ebook. We have a Solopreneur Success Cycle checklist that we send them. But it's mainly about the online community and the events right now. And then, as I mentioned, as we transition over to this system that we're building, there'll be more stuff inside. But like I said, that searchable database of all of our content kind of thing will be available to them as well.
Yeah, I could show. Maybe offline, I'll show you some of the automation things that you can potentially use and make it a lot easier for you. Because man, the more you can automate, the better it is. Because then you don't
absolutely.
have to.
I agree completely. We were using an automated tool, but it was steps for the person, and they weren't doing it. Excuse me.
All right. Well, when we're offline. Okay, great. All right. So, but now let's talk about because some of our other people should be doing communities. Hopefully, they're going to learn about doing communities as a result of this. So, right now, you're not doing a paid one. You're kind of introducing a paid one.
Well, I think we'll always have a free community. We'll probably have a paid too, but I believe that, a lot of solopreneurs maybe aren't ready to spend money, and we're going to help them get there.
Right, I get it. I know. So then for the paid one, here's a dumb question. So let's say they go up the value ladder. So can they get coaching from you? So meaning let's say they're on your email list, if there is such a thing, then they go to free community, paid community, and then let's say they want one-on-one consulting. I'm asking for a logistical issue here.
Yeah.
Can they get one-on-one consulting from you, or do they go to the community for one-on-one consulting? I'm just wondering how it works.
Yeah, I'm not doing one-on-one consulting because of bandwidth issues. Again, we're charging for the paid tiers of $50 a month.
Yep, I understand.
Right? So, there's and the idea there is to get a lot of people involved, right? To get the revenues to where they need to be to support the costs. So I won't be doing one-on-one coaching. We do have office hours where people can come in and ask a question.
For that, and it's you who does those office hours, correct?
Well, I do. So I do the office. I'll be doing the office hours for lead gen along with Carly Reese, who's our marketing person. So the two of us together do that one. I'm going to be doing the one for starting your business because I've started a lot of businesses. I've got George B. Thomas doing the HubSpot ones. George is a very well-known HubSpot expert with his company Sidekick Strategies, but he does that. So we've got different people doing the office hours for different topics of interest to solopreneurs. And
are those paid? Do people pay to go to those, or do they not pay to go to those?
It's included in the subscription for the paid tiers, right?
Look at you.
Yeah, so it's my goal is to give ridiculously good value, right? So it's and hopefully in the context of that, get enough volume to make the business make sense.
Yeah, I totally did. So okay, again, logistical questions because I want to kind of look behind the curtain for your business. So let's just say as an example, someone gets new business out of it if they're doing office hours. Do you get affiliate dough out of it, or do you not get affiliate dough out of it?
Well, we don't have anything with that concept yet because we don't have any. I mean, I suppose technically George could conceivably get a customer. Unlikely, given the fact that he's mostly doing work with HubSpot super admins using a professional enterprise version of HubSpot. We're helping people with the CMS starter, right, which is $20 a month. So it's a whole different ball game. But he's just a great guy. He loves helping people and he likes working with us. So. But yeah, I don't see that. But in the future, possibly, I certainly will be doing some affiliate stuff. I mean, I just went through using Zen Business, try to form a company. It worked great. And so I'm probably going to try to sign up with them as an affiliate. Looking at maybe doing something with QuickBooks Solopreneur. There's a few other interesting things out there. So yeah, we'll do some affiliate stuff. but only if we feel it's good, you know?
Yep. I get it. All right. So okay, how about in closing? Let's get ready to land this plane. So what's something kind of that we have not talked about yet that you think can add value to a solopreneur, whether it be, well, no, again, let's leave it to something we have not yet talked about that can add some value to them as far as you see it.
Okay. Well, let me start with the biggest mistake I see most solopreneurs make. And that is, well, besides not setting, realistic goals for why they're doing this, but the biggest kind of just basically tactical mistake I see them make is that they make their website and they put their name in the H1, if you will, the HTML H1 at the top of the homepage.
Hero part, yeah.
So great. So if somebody Googles your name, they find you. But anybody that finds their way there doesn't know why you're there. So we are very much a proponent of saying, in that big text at the very top, write down who you help and how you help them, very succinctly, right? So it's not, Joe Rando LLC. It's, I help solopreneurs take their business to the next level, or I help solopreneurs generate more leads. Better yet, something where you're very specific, who you help and how you help them. Then you can get a little more detailed how you do it. But, that kind of thing is the biggest mistake I see most solopreneurs making. It's just about their name, or maybe the name of their business if they've named their business something besides their own name. But, if you're a coach, say you're a coach and who you coach, right? If you coach everybody, really? Because, nobody's going to come to you if you coach everybody.
Yep.
I want, if I'm going to be looking for somebody that coaches people that have had successful exits, are starting a new business, and are men over 60, I'd be like, oh, that sounds like me. Great. But somebody says, I coach people that want to open a business. I'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my piece of advice.
That's a very good piece of advice. We've fallen prey to that too, because on our website, it just says, vastsolutionsgroup.com. It says tax, finance, and artificial intelligence strategies for the modern entrepreneur. That's it's a little confusing, but we like to think people come to us based on referrals, so they know why they're coming to us. But that's a very good point.
And that's a great, but that's the thing. If you're getting referrals, it doesn't matter. In fact, it's helpful to make sure your name shows up. But what the problem we see with a lot of solopreneurs is they start their business off using their network and getting referrals, and then they wake up one day and they've burned through all of that, and they got nothing. And it's like, now it's time to do lead gen. And it really would have been good to start doing lead gen 6 months ago, a year ago. So again, but that's a very common pattern.
I agree with that. That's good. That's a good word of advice. Thank you. So, okay, let's get ready. As I mentioned, we're getting ready to land the plane. So how does someone get a hold of you if they're interested in you or your community, et cetera, et cetera?
Absolutely. So it's lifestar.com, but star has 2 R's, because if you do the one with 1 R, you get the medical emergency plane helicopters. But I like the name. Didn't want to compete with the helicopter, but I like the name. So lifestar.com, star has 2 R's. My email address is joe@lifestar.com. Simple. If you want to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn as JD Rando, JDRANDO. And that's pretty much it.
And I appreciate you being here. I think you and I are trying to help the same people, solopreneurs, because I think they're the forgotten about group in American society, because, man, that's the engine of society. That's the engine of the U.S. economy. And if that's forgotten about, which it seems largely that group is forgotten about, that, man, capitalism in the U.S. is going to have a hard time. I know some would say I'm overstepping my bounds by saying that, but I really believe that. I really believe it's the solopreneur, especially now. A lot more people want to be, enter the gig economy, and we need to help those people, and they are going it alone. And if we could do our little part in helping those, an individual who wants to, make it big, or, spend more time at home, we're doing our part. I feel good about that. So, for the people who are listening, watching, please get a hold of Joe. I think what he's talked about makes perfect sense. And if you need anything from us, you can get a hold of him on his website, or reach out to us at vastsolutionsgroup.com. This is Ken French signing off from Vast Voices, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ken.
That was good.